welcome to this very exciting episode of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories. They say that a good conversation can lead to many points of discussion, and that is exactly what we'll be having right here at the Economic Times Cutting Chai, which is a series brought to you by ET where we get to converse with CXOs, infotain you, our viewers, while sipping our cutting chai. So it's time for all of you to grab your cup of tea because this is going to be a very interesting session where we'll be listening into some fine experiences from our special guest live. So get ready for some success mantras coming your way as I introduce to you Ms. Suman Mishra, Chief Executive Officer, Mahindra Electric Mobility Limited. She is the driving force behind business transformation, data analytics, customer insights across M&M Auto Division. She also is the one who leads strategy projects for Mahindra and Mahindra Group, also happens to be on the board of CIE Automotive, Midwell Ventures, Meru Cabs. She's also the recipient of various awards, and a very special one of them being the Economic Times 40 Under 40 in the year 2019. She, in the past, has managed end-to-end global product launches for Cipla, was the associate partner at McKinsey & Company, working on large-scale performance transformations at several Fortune 500 companies. So you can imagine how much we have to learn from her. Thank you so much for joining us, Ms. Mishra.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine, Isha.
You know, as we look forward to learning from you, from engaging with you, I'm sure that our viewers would love to know more about your foundation years. Let's start at the very beginning, from your childhood days, your schooling, your early education, and of course, the starting point of your career.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like many people, I come from a small town and with a very disproportionate focus on engineering and medical. That was the only two avenues of growth at that point. All the family used to focus on get an engineering degree or get a medical degree. But from, you know, very humble beginnings in a small town. However, the formative thing that I wanted to share, and that is the impact that my mother had on me. Just to tell you that so many experiences, so many years, but my mother still remains my role model. Just a little bit about her, you know, apart from being a principal at a local high school, she also participated in the National Literacy Mission and went into the slums of Rourkela and started teaching children and adults how to write. She also became a yoga teacher by doing a course, and all this while doing a PhD at home. So I think she, to me, truly symbolizes sort of the effort, you know, effort and drive, and to do something just beyond the day-to-day, the rigmarole. So that has always had a deep impression on me. And even today I go back to her and she always pushes me to grow. That has been truly formative. I think one other incident I can share probably, which has had another reasonably significant impact on how I approach my leadership style, has been some sports. So I was very much into sports in school and everything else. But I think there was one particular incident when I had won a certain competition and was not rewarded for it. They made me second. And I mean, then they fixed it and all that. But that itself, the impact it had on me as a small child, just totally told me that fairness is sort of a crucial element of how one should act. So it's always sort of been for me, if many people tell me the only one thing we can always expect from you is that you'll always be fair. So this fairness has embedded fairly deep down. And if I think of why and where, I remember those back in the day, those experiences. So anyway, these kind of experiences in small town and growing up from there, also the engagement with the society, the culture, and there is just just a different experience from growing up in a metro, and they have truly shaped who I am today.
We're so very glad that you shared these anecdotes with us and how they've really helped you shape as the person that you are today. You know, you did speak about your mother being a role model and how she continues to be one for you even today. Like that, you know, we have so many viewers watching this show today, and for them, you are a role model. So if I was to ask you that, you know, as organizations they get larger, there are times and there are instances when there's this tendency for the institution to sort of dampen the inspiration. How is it that you keep this from happening, and how is it that you continue being a role model for your team?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is actually a very, very interesting question. It put me to think for some time. This well, my belief, okay, this is my belief, and different people will have different approaches to this. Is my belief is that to continuously inspire your team to sort of break barriers and continue growing, the organization need to have a very clear sense of purpose. Okay, you should know why you're doing what you're doing, and the second thing is the individuals in the teams must have a clear correlation of how their work is impacting the organization. And this is often missed out, that we often don't take the time to explain. And, you know, there are employees down the rank and file. Not everybody has the strategic picture in their view. So we often don't take the time to explain, you know, how what they are doing is so vitally important to what we are trying to achieve. So that is actually quite hard to do, because that requires that there is a lot of information, that there is also resourcing. So you are not, you are actually giving the right resources to the right people. And then of course that there is a clarity of expectations. So if you can make the link between what you do and how it impacts the organization and provide sort of the resources, the information, and the real role clarity, why is your role this way? You know, why can it be not something else? That itself, I feel, gives tremendous momentum to an organization. And that also allows the leadership team to give autonomy, which is what, after all, everyone wishes for, right? But you cannot give autonomy if you're not entirely clear that the individual understands why they're doing what they're doing and what is their role, right? Why are they in this organization? So it's actually quite a difficult one. And I am working on it. Truth be told, we have always worked on it. In some smaller teams, it's easier. In some larger teams, it's harder. But if we do this, then I feel the employees also come open-minded, and they want to commit to the organization. And it's not really one-sided, right? If we are able to do this, then we also get a lot back from our employees and our colleagues who want to come and participate, because they can see how their work impacts the bigger purpose. I think it's easy to say, very hard to do, but that to me will always keep that inspiration alive, rather than any other theory that we give, because people come to do their jobs and they must know why they do their jobs.
Absolutely. So having clarity of role there, and of course, giving your team freedom to really work on those and grow with the organization. You know, you mentioned some fantastic points there, and that is what makes me ask that what, according to you, are the most important attributes of successful leaders today? And I'm sure that everybody watching would love to know what you feel is the success mantra of a leader.
In the context of today, there is so much volatility. You know, if you think about my sector, we are talking about automotive sector in itself transitioning, technology moving, semiconductors changing, all this, there is so much volatility today. So I feel the leader has to have an ability to do two things. One, be really rooted to the purpose that I already alluded to earlier. You must be rooted to your sense of purpose. And if you are clear what you are doing, you will be able to declutter the organization. So it's almost critical, more so now than before, in this sort of ever prevalent world of information, that you are able to declutter and establish this is important today, that can be handled later, and this is the path that we choose to follow. So that to me is one of these very important sort of attributes of the leadership, especially in volatile times. The second, which is sort of related to it, is to be grounded to your purpose. So I feel a leader should be grounded to your purpose. And when I say grounded, it means that you should be open to learning and open to listening And because nobody knows everything, nobody knows everything, no matter how fantastic individual might think he is. So if you can have that learning mindset, you would learn a lot more from your teams, from your people, from your customers, from your channel partners, everyone, and from your advisors. And that again allows you to identify, declutter, and establish the right course for an organization. And I think the final thing which I would mention, which is a key trait that is essential, is having empathy and fairness. I did mention fairness because it's very important to me, but empathy and fairness, it is very important in today's world. You know, as the skill expectations are changing rapidly, right? The world is digitizing. The requirements of the job are changing. It is becoming far more hybrid. At that time, it is very vital to be fair and also empathetic, meaning can you give learning opportunities, growth opportunities, and create the individual's ability to survive in a world of tomorrow. And also, but whatever you do, be fair, be understanding of where the individual is coming from. I feel these two, right, rooted to your sense of purpose and being fair and empathetic, these two will definitely be the crucial mantras, at least for me.
You know, you pointed out some fantastic traits there, and coming from a leader like you, so be more agile, have that human touch with your team, be so much more empathetic. Like you said, in today's hybrid world, that's exactly what one needs to connect with their team. And you spoke about having a team and that connect with the team and its importance. And that's what leads me to my next question, actually, that it's not easy to hire the right kind of people. And when you are sort of having a look at candidates who are equally qualified, what is it that makes you determine which one to pick?
Yeah, first, finding the right candidate with the right capability is already quite challenging in today's hyper-competitive world. But let's say you did end up having two people who have the right skill set, you have to look at cultural fit. This is also a little double-edged sword, so I would like to nuance it a little bit. When I say cultural fit, I really mean that are your value systems aligned, between the organization and you, and your belief systems aligned. Okay, these two are very important so that someone who comes in can be successful in the context of the organization. However, I don't mean when I say this, that say your culture is not really agile or bold and you want to make it bold. You don't choose people who are not agile, right? So it's not about going to the lowest common denominator, but it is really thinking if your value systems and your belief systems are aligned, then you will be able to work in the culture. I feel other things like sort of the speed of organizations, these can be changed by new incumbents. That's why you actually get new people who have seen how they do it in different contexts, different industry, and can add that value to your organizations. It's not doing the thing the same way as you've always done. It's more like, what is the sense of ethics, your values, even your purpose that should be aligned.
Right, you did mention a few pointers which you feel can lead you to become a successful leader. So let me at this point ask you that what according to you is maybe one behavior or one trait that you have seen derail most leaders' careers?
Okay, this is to the best of my knowledge and ability. But what I have seen, and considerably more so in India than in many of the global experiences that I had, I call it the God complex. So many leaders who have grown, they have grown on the merit of their hard work, their knowledge, etc., etc. They grow, and when they reach a certain stage where they have power, they stop listening. They start thinking that they know it all. And that is sort of the beginning of the detriment. Because in today's world, if you do not have a learning mindset, it is almost impossible to survive. So if I believe that I can take all decisions of the organization just on my own, without listening to my teams or the world at large or my mentors, then I'm on a very slippery slope. And I feel, that's one of those traits that sort of this, for lack of a better word, God complex that really derails people. And it's easy to get because the way this perpetuates is, say, I think I'm the, let's say, goddess of, of all electric vehicles. Then I will only get people under me, around me, who reinforce that self-belief, who are the yes sirs, And I've seen this in organizations that people rise to the top and then they surround themselves with only the yes men, and therefore then the whole organization derails. I mean, the most famous story of them is how in Detroit, when the small cars came to America, everybody looked outside in the parking lot, and because there were all these Fords and GMs, these large vehicles, nobody realized that the small car revolution has already come and hit US. They didn't recognize the Japanese brand. They dismissed the Japanese brand, and therefore, because they were just looking in the parking lot where everybody was coming in their Fords and GMs. So it's that same culture, the culture of everybody agreeing to it, and no permission to listen, to talk. This complex is what I have really seen. Individuals, of course, but organizations actually can suffer from.
Right. So it's really not about wearing that crown and being so very proud of it, but really being there for your people and leading them. You shared some fantastic example there. And, you did speak about the importance of listening. So here I'd like to ask you, who is your friendlier? Who is that someone for you who listens to you without judging you? Someone that you can really discuss both business and personal life with?
Yeah, I am lucky in this regard, I'll hold the question on the judging, but at least those who listen to me, I have a couple of different people. Of course, my first and foremost is my spouse, who we are very lucky, he's also a CEO. We always talk, and we can engage sort of on our issues and challenges in a much more broader, non-judgmental kind of way, because we have always been friends first. But the other part of it is because I was lucky to have a very global experience. I have worked in Singapore, I worked in the US, I worked in India, I've had stints in Africa. I have friends almost everywhere in the world. And someone or the other has gone through the same crises, same problem, same issue. And there are some friends I have around the world who I can really call on to say it how it is. So if they have to judge me, so be it. But they are very candid in telling me, maybe perhaps you should rethink what you're doing here. Or perhaps you're too soon to say something has been done or right or wrong. So I have been quite lucky to have this network of friends / listeners. And I offer the same sounding board to them. So we often talk. Many of them are women, and many of them are extremely successful in their careers. So those women have truly been a source of strength, and everyone needs someone to talk to, and I've been quite lucky to have that.
It's really nice to have that small group of friends that you can really depend on, and they continue to support you. And this is what makes me ask you, who has ever given you the best professional advice, and what was that advice? We'd love to know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's one best, because that is really hard. But maybe a couple of different things. Actually, all in because you said who. Actually, my former boss and my current boss, these are sort of my little role models of professional journey. My former boss, Mr. Anish Shah, who's the managing director of Mahindra & Mahindra. He's the one who hired me into the group. And he always told me, you will be measured not by what you say, not by, how you behave, but what impact you leave. So he has always told me, focus on the impact of what you do. Inevitably, there I was in a more strategic role. And it's very easy for strategists and consultants to think, oh, I made a very nice presentation, so, I've done a great job. But he always pushed me to think about the impact. And that always is a lesson that resonates with me. If I make a decision, what is the impact of the decision on the people and on the organization? So I always question, is this just for the sake of it, or is it really truly to drive change? That's the one really, really measure and focus on impact is the one thing that Dr. Shah told me, and I always remember it. And my current boss, who is also fantastic, is actually the ED of Mahindra Group, Mr. Rajesh Jejurikar. From him, not so much what he said, but how he behaves. I remember, particularly during this COVID times, it has been horrible for so many people. But I've realized two things from him. He speaks extremely directly with a clear clarity of thought, but he also at the same time really cares. So that, empathetic decluttering that I have seen him in action and I've experienced it myself. That's one thing I learned. I seek to emulate that is, I'm very clear-headed in my thinking process, but not am I all the time thinking also about my people and the teams, and doesn't matter how busy a day is, do I do the necessary reach out. So I think both of these individuals have had a huge way in which I have professionally grown, and and I learned from what they do and what they said as well.
Thank you so much for sharing those professional learnings. Really observed and made sure that you inculcate some of those beautiful points in yourself and your leadership style as well. Thank you so very much for joining us, Ms. Suman Mishra. It's been a pleasure knowing you. And I'm sure that our viewers had so many takeaways from this session.